Hey, good evening, friends. Dennis LaRue here, your executive and life coach with LDR Leaders. Develop relationships, and the number one relationship you develop is with yourself first. And this is Sunday night. This is the hashtag steeltoesrequired quote of the week. And this is episode number 84. Now, before we get into the quote, before we get into all of the good stuff that's coming, first off, happy Mother's Day to all of you moms out there. Hope you had a great day, a relaxing day, a blessed day. Thank you so much, moms, for all you do for us. You are amazing. You are wonderful. And many of us take it for granted. And I'm grateful for this day to say you're not taken for granted. You are amazing. And thank you for all that you do, who you are, and helping us become who we become. What's going on, Melanie? How are you? I see you there. Hey, Chuck. I see Jamie there. Jamie, happy Mother's Day, of course. And tonight, for episode 84, we've got a really just great quote. Hey, Mom, happy Mother's Day to you. Hope you enjoyed that frap today. What's going on, Anthony? Here we are. So number 84. So for those of you that aren't familiar with hashtag steeltoesrequired, permit me just a moment to let you know what you're in for. You see, I love quotes, and quotes just have a way of impacting me. They have a way of stepping on my toes, as they say. You'll hear a speaker say, what I'm about to say is going to step on your toes. And so these quotes have stepped on my toes. They've got me to think. They've poked me. They've motivated me, they've inspired me, and so I've taken these quotes. Some are recent, some are from years ago, some are from when I was a kid, and I put them all together and share lessons I learned from these quotes to help motivate, inspire, and get you to put on your steel toes and kick down the doors and the barriers and the obstacles that you face every day, to poke and prod you and to get you into a position of growth. And so I call it the hashtag steeltoesrequired quote of the week. We do it every week. So here it is, number 84. And here's your quote for this week. Here it comes. Daniel Gomez, what's going on, brother? This one is from Napoleon Hill. It's from his book, The Laws of Success, which happens to be right behind me. So just look over my shoulder and you'll see it there. And here's his quote. He said this: "No man knows enough about any worthwhile subject to entitle him to feel that he has the last word on a subject." Let me say that again. No man knows enough about any worthwhile subject to entitle him to feel that he has the last word on that subject. That's Napoleon Hill from his book, The Law of Success. It's a great book. I'm reading it right now. And when you read that along with his Think and Grow Rich, which he is well known for, and we've quoted him here on that, when you put those together, oh my goodness. That is just, you could literally just study those two books for years, and it would be enough to help you grow. I really believe that. Hey, Nellie, good to see you. And so with this quote, what this quote brought to mind for me as it stepped on my toes is the importance of being a lifelong learner. And when you think about lifelong learning, what is that? You know, what does a lifelong learner look like? And it got me thinking about what are the characteristics of a lifelong learner. Now, time doesn't permit us to go through a whole long laundry list of them, but here's what I would like for you to do. As we're going along here, put in the comments what you believe are the characteristics of somebody who is a lifelong learner. What are those? And we'll address them as they go, but I'm only going to talk about three. Three characteristics of a lifelong learner. And the first one that comes out right away based off of this quote is a lifelong learner is humble. They're humble. Yeah, Chuck, good one, good one. Curiosity, we're going to get to that one. They are humble. And here's why. You just think of that quote again. No man knows enough about a worthwhile subject to entitle him to feel that he has the last word. That means a lifelong learner is humble. They readily admit right up front that they don't know it all. They're not a KIA. They're not a know-it-all. And they may be an expert in their subject. They may be recognized as a leader across the globe in their subject. But the lifelong learner recognizes that they're not an expert in every subject. And there are areas of their particular craft that still has nuances and art forms within it to discover. And they also recognize that it could be somebody else in the room who knows as much as they do or knows a little bit of information to unlock the mystery. They're humble. They realize they may not necessarily be the smartest person in the room. And they're willing to listen to others on subjects to learn a different viewpoint. Maybe as a communicator, learn how to say it better. Learn how to keep it simple. Because sometimes when we're experts, sometimes when we know a lot about a given subject, we will assume that the people in the audience, the people we come across, know as much as we do, and we will talk at a level that is way over their level. But a lifelong learner doesn't do that. A lifelong learner recognizes that up front, and they hold back, and they listen, and they learn. So a lifelong learner is humble. You know what else they are? They're hungry. A lifelong learner is hungry. I see that consistent, Anthony. That's a good one. Melanie, humility and kindness. Exactly, kindness. But the second one, not only are they humble, but they're hungry. They're a lifelong learner. They grow. They devour. Just think of this. Now, I love sports. And growing up, I read anything and everything I could get my hands on that was sports. You know, when mom and dad would get the newspaper on the weekend, while, they were looking at the papers or maybe clipping coupons or whatever, I had the sports page. And I read that sports page from the front word to the back word. I looked at all the stats. I looked at every baseball player, and I looked at how many times they went up to the plate, how many hits they got, walks, runs, ERA, pitchers, strikeouts. I mean, I would go through that whole thing. Football, I go through yards, touchdowns, plays. I would read how they scored. I mean, I would get into it and study it. And then I would get Sports Illustrated. And I had Sports Illustrated from the time I was like 7 years old and read it cover to cover. I mean, I was in an encyclopedia of sports information and sports trivia and history. And then I collected baseball cards and I studied those and learned facts and things about all of them as well. And so when I would get in the room with people, and I say all that to say, I was hungry for it. I was hungry to know anything and everything about sports. I would listen. I actually enjoyed listening to the sports broadcasters during games because they would share things about players that gave me even more knowledge about trivia and sports and how they did things. And remembering what happened weeks ago in games, just those type of things. I was hungry to learn more and more and more. And a lifelong learner is exactly that. In their field, in their craft, or in multiple areas, they are hungry. And when they get a hold of something within their expertise, when they get a sniff of something in their expertise, they're like a shark that gets a little whiff of blood. You've seen that movie about not Dory, but the other one, Finding Nemo. When the shark gets that little scent of blood, if you've seen the cartoon movie, and all of a sudden his eyes go dark black and he's ready to just eat everything in sight. That's how hungry a lifelong learner is to learn. They're constantly looking for that next detail. They're looking for that nuance. They're looking for not just facts and figures, but they're also looking for the art and skill associated with learning. They want to go deeper and deeper, and they want to know it inside and out. It's as if they are like Sherlock Holmes on the case, and they account for everything that they see. They feel it. They know it. They see it. They taste it. They touch it. They want everything within their specific skill set. So let me ask you, are you hungry? You hear Les Brown right now. Les Brown, the great speaker, always ask you, are you hungry? Are you hungry? Are you hungry as a lifelong learner? Are you hungry for more knowledge? Are you hungry for wisdom? Are you hungry for application? Are you craving it? Because a lifelong learner craves, just craves it. Think of the biggest craving that you have: chocolate, ice cream, sugars, potato chips, pizza. I'm naming a few of mine, by the way. What do you crave? The lifelong learner craves wisdom, craves knowledge, and is not the person who feels entitled to say they know it all, that they've stopped eating. They're not hungry. The person who is done, who is not a lifelong learner, is done eating and says, yep, I'm all done. Waiter, where's my check? They're done. They don't want anything else. They don't want to sample anything else. They're done. Lifelong learners are never done. They pause and they get back in the game. And the third one, Chuck, you brought it up. The third one I had was they're curious. That's right, Melanie. Chocolate. Woo! The third one, the first is humble, characteristic of a lifelong learner. The second, they're hungry. And the third is they are curious. They're curious. Now, when I think of it's Mother's Day, moms, you remember us as kids coming up, and you would say something to us or tell us something, or we would come up to you and ask that great question, why is the sky blue? Or ask some crazy question, and then you would answer us, and we would respond with, why? 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 Constant questions as kids. Because we didn't know anything, and we were growing. But as we got older, that's right, Melanie. Winner, winner, chicken dinner to Chuck. You got it. Curious. But that's how we're to constantly remain in that state of why, in that state of growing, that state of curiosity. You remember just a moment ago when I said, the person that's done learning does this. In this case of curiosity, they never ask any more questions. All they do is provide answers. Because they're the KIAs. They know it all. But the lifelong learner, in this case of curiosity, if they're in the room, they're not the last person to speak. They're the first person to speak because they ask a question to get everybody else engaged. Lifelong learners ask the questions. And then everybody else jumps in and provides answers and input. The KIA is the one that gives the last final answer. The KIAs want to be the mic droppers. They want to be the mic droppers as the last word of wisdom in the area because they know it all. But curiosity is not the case. The curious lifelong learner is constantly asking questions. In fact, they're curious and they get in a different room. They're not the smartest person in the room, and they could be. They could be, but they'll never let you know it because they're humble, as we've already said. And they're curious to ask questions to learn more from everybody else in the room. They value everybody in the room. They value the knowledge and wisdom of people in the room, and they will ask the questions to mine out the knowledge and wisdom in the room. They will ask the questions in their journals to dig deep within themselves. They'll ask the questions in their journals when they're reading a book. They will dive deep. And they'll do it with a childlike excitement. We just talked about the child asking why. There's a sense of excitement. Like me when I was a kid, one of my favorite things to do was to go buy a pack of baseball cards or sports cards of some sort. You didn't know what was in the pack, but there was that level of, there was an expectancy of something great in that pack. And you couldn't wait, I couldn't wait to open it. And then you open that pack and then you go through and see who's in that pack. The person who's a curious lifelong learner is like I am opening that pack of cards. The curiosity is just the excitement of what comes up next, the excitement of opening that book, that excitement of being in the room, being in that conference, meeting that person. There is a sense of excitement. They can't wait. And they can't wait to ask the question. They come prepared with questions to ask people. When they're in the room, when they're in conferences, when they're around others, they have questions ready to go. They have questions ready to go like a military member has their go bag when it's time to deploy. It's full, it's ready, they're jam-packed, and they're ready to go. And they're ready to go at a moment's notice. That's curiosity. They look at questions as the keys and pieces to a puzzle so they can unlock that puzzle. And it's to reach and fulfill their purpose. They're curious not only about the subject, but they're also curious about getting themselves, growing themselves to the next level. Finding that one piece, that one nugget that they've been looking for that might bring everything together in their subject. And they're curious to find it. And then when they find it, they look for the subsets within that subject to even master it deeper and become more experienced in that area. And they also, being curious and asking those questions, I'll throw a fourth bonus out to you. The fourth thing that describes a lifelong learner is they teach it. They teach what they know. They share their experience. They share their wisdom. They share their knowledge. Not only are they not know-it-alls, but they're not KIAs by keeping it all to themselves either. They willingly share it because they know when they share what they learn, they're growing others, helping others, and bringing others up with them. And since this is a quote by Napoleon Hill, it's called the power of the mastermind. Sharing that wisdom, sharing that information, getting people together on this subject, that's the power of the mastermind. There it is. Napoleon Hill says, no man knows enough about any worthwhile subject to entitle him to feel that he has the last word on a subject. The curious, the lifelong learner knows as they learn, the more they learn, the less they know. And the more that they need to know. And the more they need to learn. And the more they need to grow. Each page, each person is an open door to the next area, the next level. It's kind of like we've talked about with climbing the mountain. You get to the top of the mountain, what do you see? You see more mountains to climb. It's the same thing here for the lifelong learner. When the lifelong learner gleans a new nugget of wisdom and information, especially in their expertise, it just opens up new doors, new mountains to climb, and new trails to chase, to grow and become. So let me ask you this. On those four areas that I shared, humble, hungry, curious, and teachable, how are you as a lifelong learner? How are you doing in those areas? Are you humble or are you a know-it-all? Are you hungry or are you full? Are you curious or do you not care because you've arrived? And are you teaching others or are you hoarding all that information to yourself? How do you rate yourself here? Your action step this week, not only rate yourself, but take the next step. Take the next step. Evaluate your learning environment this week. Are you the smartest person in the room? Are you the smartest person in your circles? Are you the one everybody turns to? It's time to find a new room. Are you the one, if you're teaching others constantly, are you filling yourself? Are you still curious? Are you still growing? Are you still hungry? Take that next step. Take that next step. And what subject comes to mind right now that you've always wanted to learn, to always get into, always study and grow? Because all knowledge and information and wisdom are linked together in some way. These character qualities I shared are character qualities of leaders, influencers. They weave into almost every profession. In order to grow in your professions, in order to grow in your careers, in order to grow in your callings, you've got to be humble. You've got to be hungry. You've got to be curious. And when you help others and train others and teach others what you know, you make your organizations better. They all come together. So what's a subject? What's a subject that you want to learn and grow in? I challenge you this week to step out and start learning and growing in that area. It could be a hobby, like I mentioned, sports and baseball cards and things. It could be a school subject. It could be taking a class. Or it could be reaching out to a person you've always wanted to meet and ask questions. Start a group. Whatever those things are, take the next step. And with that, I'm going to bring Steel Toes to a close for this week. And I want to thank you again. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you for joining me. Feel free to like, comment, and share. I'm going to go through these comments of these characteristics you pointed out throughout the call, throughout this time, and put them out there. What other character qualities do you see in lifelong learners? Post them in the comments. And later on, I'll be posting out here a link to the blog as well, so you can enjoy the blog too. And with that, we close with the blessing. I pray the blessing of bread that you know no hunger. All right, the blog's going to be up in a few minutes. Thanks, Jamie. I pray the blessing of salt, that your life would be flavorful. Curious people's lives are flavorful. Lifelong learners' lives are flavorful, but also that you would be flavorful in other people's lives. Be salt in their lives. I pray the blessing of wine, that joy and prosperity would be yours as you discover new truths, new growths, new people, and that the love of God would be your portion this day and forevermore. Friends, I want to thank you again. Happy Mother's Day, all you moms out there. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And thank you for joining me, Dennis LaRue, on the hashtag steeltoesrequired quote of the week. Have a great week, and we'll see you again next Sunday for Steel Toes. But if you're following my page now, you'll see me also, LaRue on the street. I'll be out on the streets sharing little nuggets, thoughts, and ideas. So stay tuned here to my page. You'll see me throughout the week. Blessings, my friend. Take care, and bye for now.